Item number 7. There's a recommendation for closed session meeting under Section 81H of the Michigan Opens Meeting Act to discuss and consider a legal opinion from board-approved, commissioned Attorney Talgenhoff. He is not the district lawyer. He is a board-approved, commissioned attorney, which is exempt from disclosure under state law due to the attorney-client privilege. The vote is to be made if this is to go into closed session or not. There's a recommendation on the table. Is there a second?
Support.
Board members' discussion in regards to if you want to go into closed session or not. Hearing no discussion, roll call. Robin? Now, again, you're voting to go into closed session to discuss, to receive a legal opinion from board-approved commissioned attorney Talgenhoff.
Ms. Morales?
No.
Mrs. Breamsey?
Yes.
Ms. Castillo?
Yes.
Ms. Irby?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
No.
Mrs. Bieshki?
No.
Mr. Sawatsky?
No.
We have 3 yes votes and 4 votes opposed.
So motion has failed to go into closed session. Does anyone have any objection? We can yield the floor to Talgenhoff. And we also want to remind that allowing opinions and being respectful from the board, we have to have order. So is there any objection to asking Talgenhoff to coming to the podium?
None for me.
None for me. Mr. Talgenhoff? The floor is yours. Yeah, so. Oh, uh-oh. Could be.
Just turned off, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Can you hear me okay? I've met with all the board members, but it just, I guess, since I don't usually speak in front of a crowd this large, but just for background, my name's Alan Talgenhoff. I'm an attorney, Traverse City, Michigan. 1981 graduate of Clio High School, just down the road from you all. And went to law school, came back to Clio, practiced there, and I was on the Board of Education at Clio area schools before I moved up north 30 years ago. And I was on the Charlevoix Board of Education after I moved north, was board president there for a number of years. I had the fun that you've had tonight, Ms. Morales, of running meetings on highly charged issues. So I've been in your position, at least to that extent. I ran for prosecutor in 2012, Charlevoix County prosecuting attorney, and was elected to 2 terms. Actually, I'm sorry, I was elected to 3 terms, and I retired in 2022, and then began, as part of my, went into private practice, and as part of that practice, began conducting third-party school investigations like I was asked to do here. So that's just my background. What I was asked to do in this case is semi-typical with, has been my experience over the last 3 years, is to investigate complaints that had been received. And in this situation, one of the things that was different about it is that there were complaints from different sources. The majority, I guess, just for background, the majority of the investigations that I do is perhaps an employee has a complaint against the superintendent. One board member has a complaint against another board member. Things of those issues. That's the majority of the complaints that I investigate. In this situation, I was provided with a number of complaints, and I'll run through all those here tonight and talk to you about those. The procedure that I followed here is the procedure that I follow in every one of these investigations, which is I contact the complainants and let them know that I've been retained to investigate their complaints. And if they have any additional information that they want me to have, if they have any additional witnesses that they would like for me to talk to, I need that information. I also reach out to the respondent, the target, so to speak, of the complaints, and afford them that same opportunity. Let them know who I am, what I've been hired to do, ask for any information that they have in response, and any witnesses that they have in response that I should speak with. Obviously, I come in kind of jokingly, I probably use that joke with many of you. I parachute into the district. I don't know anyone here. Played basketball in your gym back in 1980, I think, but other than that, and then I'm going to leave when this is done. So I have no idea who the witnesses would be in these matters. I have no idea who to talk to if the complainants and the respondents don't provide me with that information. Once I have that information, then I schedule time to come in person and meet with the witnesses, and that's what I did here. I think it's very important for investigations, at least for those initial interviews, to be in person. You get a lot more when you talk to people face-to-face than when you talk over Zoom or you talk over the telephone. Just like I'm sure tonight, if I was on Zoom and you were watching me, hopefully we'll have a better conversation than we would in that type of situation. So that's the procedure that I followed in this case. I think the majority of the board voted to retain my services on November 21st. I received the first complaints on December 1st and December 2nd. On December 3rd, I reached out to Ms. Morales, who's your representative as your board president, described the procedure that I was going to follow, which is essentially what I just told you all here as well. I received an additional, I termed it as a complaint, ironically, maybe not so ironically. It's what Mr. Hall was just talking about, TSI, CSI. So I had another complaint that I added to my list for review. I received that on December 4th. I reached out to Mr. Whelton as well because he was obviously the respondent to these complaints and underscored the procedure that I intended to follow. I received word back from Mr. Delaporte, his counsel, who addressed you here tonight, and arranged for time to come to the district and interview all the witnesses that I was provided. And I came to Bridgeport on December 18th and December 19th and conducted those interviews here in your building. Actually, Mr. Hall was kind enough to give me his conference room, and I utilized that for interviews. I'm going to talk about, I don't want to mention names because typically it's the first time I've addressed a report such as this in open session, but I want to keep the privacy of some of these people, especially parents of students, because we want to keep the privacy of the students private as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions when I'm through or while we're going through from the board. But one of the things that I think would be important is to keep some of that privacy of these individuals, and I think you'll understand why as we go through it. But I interviewed a number of people over these 2 days. I interviewed all of the complainants, everyone who had written a letter. I interviewed, one of them was a parent. I interviewed them with the entire family, mother, father, child, and another individual who was a witness to one of the incidents that they wanted to speak with me about. Interviewed Athletic Director Rodriguez, interviewed all 7 board members. That was a first for me. But some of the issues that were raised related to board conduct as a whole, related to behavior that had taken place at board meetings. And so I made the decision that it would be best not to talk to 1 board member or 2 board members. Let's talk to all 7 board members. And I appreciate your time in doing that. I interviewed your athletic director, Mr. Rodriguez, who spoke tonight so eloquently. And I watched a number of your school board meetings because that was raised to me as potential issues and background that would be important for me to have. So you have lots of cameras here tonight, and I'm sure this will be on YouTube soon enough, but I was able to find your meetings and watch those meetings. And additionally, there was an individual from your community that had taken video of some meetings that provided that to me as well. I did meet with Mr. Whelton and his attorneys, and he was very forthright and agreed to meet with me, and I appreciate that. And then I had some follow-up information that I requested from different individuals. So, and just to be perfectly clear, I had asked for some information from Ms. Morales, which I'll talk about later in the report, but I also asked for some information from Mr. Lang, which I appreciate I received from him, which I'll talk about as well. And it had to do with Mr. Whelton's inability, because he's on leave, to access his email and his information. And so he and I talked about that, and I said, if there's anything that I need that I can't get, I'll let you know. But one of the things was communication with the board. So I'd reached out to Ms. Morales about that initially, and it was probably Christmas Eve or something, that I was trying to get this done for you folks as quickly as I could in a thorough manner. But some of these requests I know were made over the Christmas holidays, so I didn't expect immediate responses. But I did then reach out to Mr. Lang, and he was able to provide me with an email, actually the one that you were talking about earlier, the January 31st email, which had some importance to my report. That's kind of the backdrop. One thing that I want to say up front, and I think the board understands this, but so that everyone understands this, my investigation was not to look into if Mr. Whelton was a good superintendent, a bad superintendent, whether he should get an A, B, C, D, whatever. I was not asked to come in and be a part of his evaluation process. That's for you all to do. You had voted, majority of the board had voted before all this happened not to extend his contract. Again, my report is not on whether or not that's a good idea, bad idea, whatever. My purpose here is, one of the people that I've worked with on some of these investigations talks about just to call balls and strikes, right? Just to we got to use sports analogies, right? But I'm not to tell you who's got the good team, who's got the bad team, but what I'm going to do is just shoot you straight, call balls and strikes, tell you what I see. So that was not what I was asked to do, and that wouldn't be appropriate for me to do. That's for you all to do. So I'll walk now through each of the complaints that I looked at and talk about what I learned in the investigation and what my findings were. The first related to a parent, and this is the one that I talked about earlier. I met with a family. I met with a father, mother, child, and they brought in a third party who worked with the family to be a part of the interview process. Excuse me. And I had gotten a copy of a letter that the father had written. And I'm sorry, I didn't bring all my files tonight. I do have on my computer, so if there's things that you want me to pull up, I do my best to pull those up. But the gist of it was there was a complaint made to the Board of Education that related to a meeting between the family and Mr. Whelton. That was the primary issue as I understood it from the letter. The background was, and obviously this, as happens in all these investigations, I get a letter from a gentleman, says, here's what I'm concerned about. We sit down and talk. Now I'm concerned about many other things, right? And so it kind of expands. I get more information. One thing I want to be clear about is that what I had told Mr. Whelton and his counsel, what I tell a respondent in every case is that if someone brings up something in an interview or they send me a letter or they do something after I've started my investigative process, and I'm going to look into that, I'm going to let the respondent know, and I'm going to give them a chance to respond. So I had given the complaints to Mr. Whelton's counsel, and I had indicated if we get anything else, I will give that to you. And so in this situation, I'm talking around it, but I'm trying to think of the best way to say this without trying to give away who people are. The child that was involved in this situation is obviously one of your students. And there was a situation, there's two situations that are at issue here. One is the child was involved in an incident at school and had made an allegation to mom and dad that a school staff member had grabbed the child inappropriately, left marks on the child. Okay, and so mom and dad had a complaint, made that complaint, according to dad, to the school, and they felt like the matter was not investigated. They felt like there were two different things that were said. One was that there was no investigation. The other was that they just took the staff member's word. The staff member said it didn't happen. They just believed the staff members. And then it also was said they never got back to me at all. But then, obviously, they told me that someone had told them that the staff member said that it didn't happen. So I'm getting, welcome to investigations, right? I'm getting a little mixed message, okay? But the gist of it was the child, someone had put hands on the child, allegedly. And so that was the primary concern that the parent had, was that that had happened and that not a proper investigation had taken place. Put that to the side. The student was involved in a meeting where a bunch of staff were involved, including Mr. Whelton, who I think Mr. Whelton went there from talking with Mr. Whelton about it in part because he was concerned that it might be a kind of a volatile situation with the family. And so he's at this meeting, there's staff at the meeting, and there's a business portion of that meeting, and near what the dad believes is the business was all done. We're all done talking about the issue that we're here today. Dad wanted to then address with Mr. Whelton the issue with the child being touched at school in the investigation, okay? Wasn't the purpose of the meeting, but now as the dad's got Mr. Whelton's ear, he wants to talk about this situation. The allegation was, and this was in the letter that was given to me, was that Mr. Whelton had escorted dad from the school and refused to talk about the issue and had stopped the meeting and led the parent out. One of the things that was upsetting to the parent was that there were minutes from that meeting that had been prepared by another staff member, not Mr. Whelton, that said that they couldn't complete the meeting because of the disruptive behavior of the parent and that the meeting had to be stopped and the parent had to leave. The parent was not happy with Mr. Whelton from the meeting. Parent was not happy with the minutes from the meeting. Parent said that they didn't investigate it, or I don't like the results of the investigation. I spoke with Mr. Whelton about the situation, and what Mr. Whelton indicated was that he was aware of all of this situation. There was an investigation with respect to what had happened to the child, and there wasn't a situation where the staff member denied ever touching the child. In fact, the staff member said, I did touch the child. What I did was act in defense of other students because the student was out of control. And so I did grab a hold of the student to restrain them, but it was to protect other students. That's the reason that I did it. Mr. Whelton indicated that that had been communicated to the parent. With respect to this meeting, what Mr. Whelton indicated was that, as I said, I don't, and I may be wrong, and he's here, he can correct the record, but I don't recall offhand if he typically attends those meetings or he doesn't. But my recollection was that he doesn't usually, but perhaps this was a situation where he ought to be there, that Dad might get a little worked up. Those my words, not Mr. Whelton's words. And that when they reached that point of the meeting where that did start to happen, and we're no longer talking about the business that brings us for the meeting, Mr. Whelton said that he could see staff members becoming uneasy, nervous, maybe even a little bit scared as it started to get a little bit loud. And we're not talking about what is bringing us here today. It's not this business meeting anymore. And Mr. Whelton said that he did decide that, you know what, we're going to take a time out, and told the dad, hey, I'm going to walk you out, and stop the meeting and walk Dad out of the building. Now, when I met with Dad in person, one of the things that Dad told me was, I had this vision of, Mr. Whelton grabbing a hold of him and, ICE agent, leading him to the door or something. It's too soon for ICE agent jokes. But anyway, that he's like, physically leading him out. What Dad told me was, as they were leaving, what they were talking about was one of Mr. Whelton's kids and their coaching. It ended on a good note with Dad on that day. Obviously, something happened at some point in time, because the other piece of this is that Dad wrote a complaint to the state of Michigan, had filed a complaint with state of Michigan. And one of the things that I was asked to investigate is whether, I don't investigate, but at least look at, is that Mr. Whelton didn't notify the board that there was a complaint that had been raised with state of Michigan, and whether he should have done so or not. I'll be honest with you, I'm a school board member for 10 years, been a prosecutor for 10 years. I think that's above my pay grade to decide, exactly what issue needs to be communicated to the Board of Education. Obviously, there are some things, you get a shooting on campus, that needs to be reported to the Board of Education immediately, right? Any complaint that is made to the state of Michigan, should that immediately be communicated to the Board of Education? Ultimately, that's going to be for you guys to decide. One thing that Dad told me, one of the first things that he told me when I met, was he had just gotten the letter from the state of Michigan throwing out his complaint. So if it's a situation where, the district feels comfortable with what happened, people file complaints every day. It's the old lawyer joke. If you got $100, you can go to the courthouse, sue whoever you want. You can write any letter you want to MDE. Should that be communicated to the board? That's for you all to decide. I'm going to talk later about communication, just in general, as I found it through this investigation. But based upon all of what I heard there, and it really wasn't a situation of one person's word against another. It really was, as I took it with Dad and Mr. Whelton in that meeting, it was different people having different perspectives. When you're the person who's worked up, I don't know that you ever really understand how worked up you are. At least that's been my experience. And so weighing all that evidence, using a preponderance of the evidence standard, which is what we do in these investigations, more likely than not, 51%, 49%. My finding on that is Mr. Whelton acted completely appropriately. He had a meeting with a parent who's bringing up issues that are not subject to the meeting. He's got a judgment call to make there, and if he erred at all, he erred on the side of safety of his staff. He had people that, by his telling, were nervous in that meeting. I saw how animated the parent was when he met with me. He was a very nice man, but this is an issue that's very near and dear to him. I could see him getting upset and that being a little bit nerve-wracking for the staff that were involved. So I don't find any wrongdoing on the part of Mr. Whelton with respect to that. With respect to the complaint to the state of Michigan and whether or not that should have been communicated to the Board of Education, some of that goes with your board. Your policies, and I know you talk a lot about policies, and when you're a school board member, everybody wants to tell you that's your job is policy, 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 but some of that's also communication style, right? And one of the things, I'm probably gonna go beyond what I should in my conclusions, but I've got a suggestion for you on communication style. So that's complaint number one. Complaint number two.
Before you go on to complaint number 2, may I? Thank you.
100%.
Okay, so the letter to the father that Mark went to the meeting, it sounds like he handled it right. He handled it well, professional. So I don't see nothing wrong with that. So was the complaint to the state after that meeting with Mark, or was it before? Mark and the staff?
I don't know.
You don't know, so you don't know when,
With that. I don't know that anybody gave me the date of that meeting.
okay, what date was it when he put the complaint in with the state?
Can I get my?
Yes, please.
Does anyone have any other questions to fill the space? No, I'm just kidding. I don't like empty space.
Are you able to tell us if the state complaint is closed or not completely? Is there any type of, are you able to share if there was any type of, I don't know how to say this, like,
He said that the state ruled in the district's favor.
risk going forward? Can they still look anything? I mean, everybody could. I mean, he could come up with something completely different.
My understanding, and my only understanding of it comes from the actual letter that the dad shared with me, was that disposed of the complaint. That there was no risk going forward, it's the end of it. We looked into what you said, we don't find that there was any violation.
For what they actually said.
Yeah.
But does that, are you saying that, and can you share this, that he can never come back again with anything,
No, I'm not.
right?
What do you mean? I mean,
Like something different. I mean, we want to do our due diligence, right?
sure.
So if something were to change, can a parent still keep on doing that with the state complaints or anything else? Can they alter and change?
I wouldn't know how to answer that. I mean, I assume that,
Okay.
I could
Yeah.
write a letter to MDE tomorrow and complain, and then they say no good, and then I could write another letter the next week. I don't think we can
Right,
stop them
okay.
from writing letters. I didn't see anything involved in this that there was any violation of any law.
What they
And this is where you get into attorney-client.
Right,
I'm not here
right,
as your
right. Yeah,
lawyer,
no,
but I
no, no.
can't
The
pretend like I'm not a
liability,
lawyer. But I didn't see anything that was a cause for concern. But again, could someone claim? I'd be more concerned about the underlying. I'm not concerned about either. I should probably be clear about that. But the fact that you had a staff member that, that touched the child, is obviously more of a risk, putting on my old board member hat, right? Than whether Mr.
Like if
Whelton was
CPS
mean
was
to a
involved
parent
or
in a
something.
situation or something. But my understanding was that was
That specific.
investigated, that there was an explanation given, and that seemed to be borne out. Again, I don't want to get into stuff that would be talking about a
Right.
student. It
Yeah.
appeared to me that that was a logical conclusion of why this touching had occurred.
Nice. So no more risk for that. No risk right now for that specific thing, no risk to the district.
Right.
Perfect.
Well, and in the meeting, again, I mean, I think like when I was the prosecutor, I had meetings with people from the public every week. Tough meetings where people walk away, they're mad at me. They think, I'm the worst guy ever. I'm either prosecuting their cousin or I didn't authorize charges on a case or something. And it's tough meetings, it's tough conversations, and I know that's what it is for Dr. Hawks, and I'm sure can speak to that. That's part of the job of being a school administrator. Let's see.
Did you interview the staff member?
I didn't. That letter of complaint was on September 25th. September 25th. And I did not, the dad brought the minutes of that meeting with him. They probably had the date of that on it, but I didn't ask for a copy of that. I didn't know that it would be germane. But is that helpful, Ms. Bieske?
It is.
So,
It
yeah,
is. I
so that
just
was the
needed-
date of the meeting.
Okay, so, but you don't know when, that meeting
I'm
with
sorry, that
Mark-
was the date of the complaint
the complaint to the state, or to the Attorney General?
to the state. No, Department
Oh,
of
to the
Education.
state, okay.
And part of it, what? Predated the complaint. That's what I thought.
Okay, thank you. So predated. So came,
Okay. Any other questions about that issue before I move on? Okay. The second issue that I was asked to investigate was regarding a letter regarding board meetings where this person was present in October and November of 2025. The allegation, and again, I don't know, as lawyers, we want to choose our words kind of carefully. This person didn't call it a complaint. They didn't say, I'm complaining about this. I want to see this action as a result, right? You've got a board policy that talks about complaints, and typically that's what people are saying, right? It's like, hey, I got fired. I wanted to be reinstated to my job. This person was mean to me. I want them to say they're sorry to me, something. This person's letter was essentially, here's what I saw at board meetings. It upset me. Here's what I think should have been done differently. Okay? Because I was given it, I treated it as a complaint, just like I would treat, any of the other complaints that I was given. But just that's the backdrop. And this person wasn't asking for any certain outcome or anything like that. Just wanted to, and I don't remember offhand if that was, I hate to pick on you, Ms. Morales, you've been picked on a lot tonight, but I don't remember if that was written to you directly or to the board. I just don't recall that, who this was addressed to, and I can find that if it becomes important. But anyway, the person was saying, I was at board meetings and I was troubled by what I saw. And basically, what they talked about, honestly, is a lot of what happened here tonight. People upset, people saying things at a board meeting, people engaging in what this letter writer termed as personal attacks, specifically against Ms. Morales, but also against Ms. Irby, Ms. Castillo, Ms. Breamsey. And the gist of it was that someone should have stepped in and put a stop to the personal attacks. Someone should have done that. And that you have policy. I mean, Ms. Morales talked about it tonight. You as board members, and going back to when I was a board member, it wouldn't be appropriate for someone to come in and start blasting a teacher. That teacher has rights. A teacher should be able to be in the room and respond to what this person's saying, and it shouldn't have to be in front of an audience like you have here, right? So I think if that happened during a meeting, and you saw a little bit of it with Mr. Hall, what your policy says is just put a stop to that. That has to stop. And if you wanna have a meeting and you wanna make complaints about Mr. Hall, then you make a complaint about Mr. Hall. There's a process to do that. Mr. Hall has a right to respond to that complaint. But when you come to the board table, you folks don't have a chance to respond to that. So again, this complaint isn't about what happened to Mr. Hall, but it's fresh in my mind. He can't respond. He can't win in that situation. He can't get into a back and forth with somebody from the public. And I get it. He's paid. I'm not saying people don't have their issues. He's paid. It's his job to be here. He's got to have thick skin, all that.
Let's be clear, I'm not getting paid.
Not getting paid for this interim, right? No, I know that. I know that.
Clear.
But I mean, people think that, like, okay, well, you work for me. I pay your salary. Problem is, in this setting, it's not fair to him, okay? I'm getting off the point here for a bit, but the issue that this writer was saying was this wasn't fair to Ms. Morales, because Ms. Morales is the person running the meeting, and so if she tells that person, hey, wait a minute, stop, that's a personal attack, what does that look like? I don't want you saying anything about me. And that what the person was saying is it should have been someone else to speak up and say something. So I asked him point blank because, I'm being hired to come in, as I understand it, and investigate Mr. Whelton. So are you saying, letter writer, that Mr. Whelton should have said something? He said, well, I think somebody on Mr. Whelton's side should have said something. I said, did Mr. Whelton encourage the crowd? Is he, pumping up the crowd? Is he clapping? Is he doing these things? He said, no. I think the quote was, I put it in here, maybe he looked a little smug. Okay? As an aside, and again, everybody's entitled to their opinions, right? And I get what one of your speakers said here tonight, right? There's a fine line between personal and professional. So when you say, Ms. Morales, you're the puppet master, you're these things, am I saying that to you professionally? Am I saying that to you personally, right? Some of the things that I saw in the videos that I watched, and fortunately I didn't hear it tonight, went beyond that. I mean, they were just flat out personal attacks. Had nothing to do with people's job as a board member. And I get what the letter writer was saying. It was sad. Somebody should have said something. And the people that stood up and said, I love Mr. Whelton and he's great, and people who talked about test scores, and people who talked about wrestling programs, and you want to talk facts at a board meeting, board members should sit here all day long and listen to that. But when you start talking about people's personal lives, I think that's where this person had a little bit of trouble and said that somebody should say something. I asked Mr. Whelton about it, and what Mr. Whelton said, and his attorney actually said a lot of it, is that the environment that has been created here, as Mr. Whelton sees it, is this is your meeting, Board of Education. This is your meeting. This is not Mr. Whelton's meeting. This is not Mr. Hall's meeting. This is your meeting. So you got somebody out, again, not their words, okay? My example. You got somebody in the audience out of control, you deal with it. You wanted this to be your meeting. You want Mr. Whelton to only speak when spoken to, then you deal with it. Those are not the exact words that Mr. Whelton or his attorney used, but that's the environment, as he understands it, that he's put in. I think the quote was, speak when spoken to. Speak when spoken to. And so that creates a tough position. Then you've got obviously these other issues, which one of your speakers talked about, First Amendment, different things, right? These are judgment calls, what you have to do, Ms. Morales. And like I said, I don't envy you. I sat in that chair 6 years and had more people than this at board meetings, and I got recalled and beat a recall. You got to make snap decisions and figure out, am I going to let that athlete speak or not? You got to make that decision. You don't have time to call timeout and go outside and talk to somebody else about it. In this situation, that's what Mr. Whelton had as well, in my opinion. Somebody's saying something that's over the line to you. Should Mr. Whelton speak up and say something? I don't know. But did he have an obligation to do so? Was it his job to do so? I don't think it was. I don't think it was. It's the board president's job to run the meeting, for better or for worse. So that was the issue that person brought up. I understand what he's saying. He said, couldn't we have a John McCain moment? That's what he said. Maybe, I don't know, all of us are old enough to remember that, right? John McCain said, hey, I don't agree with Barack Obama's policies, but he's a good man. We don't say that anymore in politics, right? Both sides hate each other. And that's what makes it tough here, right? That's what it seems like here. So it would be nice if somebody spoke up and said, let's not talk about that. But, and again, the own instructions that you read is, does Mr. Sawatsky feel comfortable saying that? Because we're not really supposed to respond to what the audience is saying, right, Mr. Lang? So I think you maybe to some extent put yourself in that situation, not you, Ms. Morales personally, but as a board, that you're going to reap what you sow a little bit with what goes on with the public. But I don't find any wrongdoing on Mr. Whelton's part. I watched those videos. There's awkward moments. I saw when he had the cards of the people who were going to speak at the meeting. That's awkward, right? But violation of his contract, violation of board policy, violation of administrative guidelines, state law. I don't find anything like that with that. Next thing, anybody have any questions or anything? You can just speak up if you have any. The next, we'll leave the name out, but maybe I'll have to give too much depth, and you probably will figure it out anyway, but we'll try it. Next complaint that I had was involving a coach whose contract was not extended. That's the way I would look at it. He said fired. I think you're, like most places, your coaches are year to year, and if they don't come back, it means they weren't rehired. He wrote a written complaint that was addressed. This one I did write down to the Bridgeport Township School Board, which I thought, well, that's not even who you guys are. But anyway, he wrote the letter on November 1st complaining about the decision to terminate him. And he attributed that to not only to Mr. Rodriguez, but also to Mr. Whelton, and said that, Coach said in the letter that he had been led to believe that Mr. Whelton was a part of the process. So I met with your coach, your former coach. I met with Mr. Rodriguez, talked to him about it, and obviously I asked Mr. Whelton about it as well. Coaches are at-will employees, probably not even employees. I don't know. Do you go through will sub for your folks, or? Yeah. So anyway, again, only lawyers and athletic directors care about that. But anyway, but your coaches are at will. So if we're going to look at it from a legal parameter, if you fired him because of his race, if you fired him because of his, his gender identity, protected classes, okay, you got an issue. That wasn't the allegation. The allegation was basically, I wasn't given enough time to make a successful program. Okay. When I asked the coach, tried to pin down specifically what makes you think that Mr. Whelton was involved in this, it really came down to a statement that he said Mr. Rodriguez made, which was something to the effect of, I talked to Mr. Whelton about this, and we agree that we're not making the right amount of progress. Not exactly the same as saying it's Mr. Whelton's decision. This is pretty high profile. position in your district, I would certainly expect that before an athletic director decides that they're going to make a switch with a high-profile athletics program, that they're going to talk to the superintendent about it, say, this is the decision that I've come to, and I want to give you a heads up on it. When I talked to Mr. Whelton and Mr. Rodriguez, they both told me that's exactly what happened. They walked me through the history of this program, some issues in particular that had come up during this school year, which I can get into if you want. But essentially, I was completely comfortable that not only was the coach an at-will employee, nothing wrong with making the decision to switch coaches, but Mr. Rodriguez clearly articulated valid reasons for making a switch. And there was not even an allegation that it was anything that would have to do with a protected class. It was just, I wish you would have given me a couple more years to see what I could do. Okay. So again, with that one, I'm not investigating Mr. Rodriguez, but I don't think Mr. Rodriguez did anything wrong, and certainly don't think that Mr. Whelton did anything wrong in that situation. It seemed completely appropriate, the procedure that they took. Next was a situation, this is a letter that was written, excuse me, it's addressed to whom it may concern, but it's my understanding that it was given to Ms. Morales on November 13th. And in this one, it is a relative of one of your students who was physically assaulted off campus by one of your students and their parent. As I understand it from talking to the people involved, there was an incident that occurred on campus, but it didn't involve this relative. But the student and their parent left here and then sounds like almost went to find this family member of the other student and assaulted them. And it sounds like all, put my prosecutor hat, all assaults are serious, right? But this sounded like a pretty serious assault that occurred. Criminal charges were filed, and the issue that the person that wrote the letter was concerned about was that the student involved, I'm going to call them the assailant, the assailant, I guess is the best way to say it, that student was allowed to walk at graduation, and that this relative of another student came to watch their student graduate, and they were put in fear because of the decision to allow that student to walk. Okay? Does that make sense? Am I explaining it okay? I mean, I'm using my shorthand, and I'm not sure. But, and so what they wrote, and just the best way for me to do some of this is just to read it. What it said in the written complaint is, in speaking with Mr. Whelton, he promised us protection for me and my family for graduation, as the assailant and their family were not to attend. I had a protection order. As graduation grew close, Mr. Whelton made a single decision on his own to overturn the earlier decision and allow that student to walk for graduation. Okay? So that was essentially the complaint. A few issues with that. And I shouldn't say it like that. This person, I believe, is 100% sincere in their concern, their complaint. So I don't mean, no, I'm going to rip it apart for you. No. But first of all, the person that wrote the letter said, in speaking with Mr. Whelton, and then it came to light that they had never spoken to Mr. Whelton. It was another relative of the student who had spoken to Mr. Whelton. Okay, and that may or may not be important to you all. I think this lady was concerned. However, I get concerned about, I'm in court, I get concerned about hearsay. When I'm talking to my kids and they're saying, oh, so-and-so said this and so-and-so, I worry about the telephone game, right? So the person who actually talked to Mr. Whelton in the conversation was not the complainant. So that, I found that out as I investigated. Again, I don't think that minimizes, and I don't mean to minimize at all, the upset that this person had, that she's going to a graduation and this person who assaulted her is going to be there. The issue that balancing that, and that's a lot of what board's job is, that's a lot of what administrator's job is, Mr. Whelton's job is to balance this lady who's concerned about her safety and something might happen to her versus I've got a student who made a mistake, a pretty serious mistake, but they made that mistake off campus. They made that mistake. I can't expel that student for what they did in a business in town. And I put hoops in place. This person has to jump through these hoops. They gotta meet these the criteria in order to walk at graduation and give that student a chance and think about, like we all deal with, and the reason that you're on the school board, right? Deal with kids whose brains are not fully developed and say, you know what, maybe the right thing to do is let that student walk. And maybe that's going to make an impact in that student's life. My understanding is the student went on to college. It's a tough decision. It's a tough decision, is what I would say about it. I talked to Mr. Whelton, said a few things about it. The other thing that in the letter that the person said was that Mr. Whelton made a single decision on his own, that wasn't accurate, and that it would be, I will throw Mr. Hall under the bus again, but it would be a building level decision that would be involved in deciding whether or not a person's going to participate in graduation. It was not, according to Mr. Whelton, it's not Mr. Whelton's decision who walks, who doesn't walk, all by himself. When I asked the complainant about it and said, why are you, I didn't say it quite that mean, but why are you saying that he made the single decision? What she pointed to was that the board wasn't involved in it. The board wasn't involved in it. And I said, oh, okay, well, but do you know whether or not the high school staff was involved? Do you know if high school administration was involved? Do you know? No, I don't know that. I'm just saying that I heard that the board wasn't involved in it and the board didn't even know that it happened. Okay. So the other thing that was really important to me, and this 100% is because of my old job, is the idea of a protection order. She had put in the letter that I had a protection order. And so, you know, prosecutors, we live for protection orders, right? I don't want you near you, and I don't want you going to this house, and I don't want this happening. So I asked the complainant, could you please give me a copy of that order? I'd like to see what that is. That's pretty standard, right? And you can get orders of protection a couple different ways. You can get a personal protection order, go and ask a judge, and or what I suspected, because of the language that she used, is what happened here, was a protection order that's contained within a release order in a criminal case. So what happens is, like the student is being prosecuted. The student wants to get out on bond. We all want everybody out on bond. We don't want people sitting in jail anymore. I'm being silly. So they say, we will let you go. We're going to let you out. But part of it is you can't be around that person. You can't be around that person, okay? And the family gave me that order, all right? And I talked to Mr. Whelton and I talked to the family. They had not given Mr. Whelton that order. They had not given the school that order. And it's pretty important to note that that order doesn't say, Bridgeport High School, you cannot let this student come in, okay? The onus in that situation is on the student. right? It'd be like, it's public accommodation, but if Ms. Morales has an order that I can't be around her and, you know, I see her, she's eating an Applebee's, and I'm gonna go on Applebee's, it's not Applebee's concern to say, whoa, we heard that there's an order of protection, Mr. Toganoff, you can't come into Applebee's and eat today. That's not the way that it works, right? It's on me, it's on Ms. Morales, if she wants to call the police and say, hey, he can't be here. So it's not the school's responsibility to enforce that. And I understand this complainant, I do. She's not a lawyer, she doesn't understand the nuances of it. But she did talk to someone through the prosecutor's office, was my understanding, probably someone in the victim advocate. And they told her that as long as the student stays away from her and does not approach her, that's okay, that they can both be at graduation. Mr. Whelton indicated to me that everyone was aware of the situation, knew that, again, not aware of the order because that wasn't mentioned until the letter, but aware of the situation that we've got this student that was assaultive, and we've got, you know, the family of the other student who's here, and we're gonna keep an eye on things. And he told me we put procedures in place. I didn't ask him to list every procedure that was put into place, but it was a tough situation. And I think it would have been, and Mr. Whelton indicated, it would have been different if that assault on this family member would have occurred on campus, and this is something that we're able to punish the student for internally for that. But what we're really dealing with is who should be at graduation and what's graduation about. And again, from the family member standpoint, I get it, and that was probably a scary day, and good on her that she went and supported her family member and took that anxiety and did that. But she was at the graduation, and she said, and she never looked at me once. I still felt threatened and everything, and I get that. If you're a victim of assault, you don't want to be around that other person. But to put that on Mr. Whelton, and especially that, this was Mr. Whelton's decision and his single decision, his sole decision, I don't find that matches up with your policies, with the law, with respect to that. Again, it's not the board's place to decide who walks at graduation or who doesn't walk at graduation. You hire a superintendent and they run the district, and you make sure that they run the district properly, is my understanding of the law. Anybody have any questions about that? I'm almost done. Ms. Lucy, I'm not going to keep you here all night, I promise.
Can I ask, did the complainant ask you or tell you why their concern was that the board needed to be involved? I mean, because did you ask them why, or did they mention why they felt, there was nothing to do with an expulsion, correct?
Right. No.
Nobody was expelled, but for, okay. So she didn't.
She just said that I don't know if you remember, she had told me who. She basically said she had reached out to a board member, is the way I understood it, and told them about it. And the board member said, I don't know anything about it. This is the first time hearing about it. And so that concerned her, that the board doesn't know about this. He's making the decision himself. And to me, it's a misunderstanding of board governance, and sometimes it's hard as a board member, right? People don't like to hear, like, hey, did you follow the chain of command? It's the most unpopular thing a board member can ever say, right? But I think that was it. I think it was that she had talked to a board member, and that they were told, oh, the board didn't know anything about it, and so she took it as, well, the board should have been involved. Okay.
I just want to make it clear, though, Mark did notify us. He texted us and emailed us, so we were aware of it.
Okay. Okay.
So you found that he did not have any fault in that one as well, correct?
What's that? I'm sorry.
No fault found?
No fault found. No.
Okay, thank you.
And nothing falls to the board.
Pardon me?
Nothing would ever fall to the board just because we weren't involved.
No. I don't think anybody did anything wrong. I think it was like all these. It's a tough call that somebody's got to make, right? Somebody made the call that the student gets to walk. That to me was kind of the same as the issue with the meeting where the parent was upset. It's kind of like, who are you gonna, if I gotta take a chance, who am I gonna side with? And when I was a board member, we always wanted to just side with students, right? If I got a staff member and I got a student and I can't figure out who's right, who's wrong here, you know what, we're here for students. And not we're gonna take the word of a student over any staff members, but you know what I mean? And here, that's the way I took that. What Mr. Whelton explained to me was, we've got a student who is doing well in classes, we got a student who's gonna go on to college, doggone it, they put in the work, let's let them walk at graduation. We'll put procedures in place so that people are safe, but let's let her walk. And I didn't find any fault, and I didn't even find it was his decision, but he certainly was involved in putting the procedures in place.
I've got a question for you, though.
Yeah.
Isn't the key element that it was off campus?
What's that?
The key element, this was an event that occurred off campus, correct?
That's what Mr. Whelton explained. I mean, you could have expelled the student and then made the student ineligible for graduation, I think.
How is the school district responsible for student activities off campus? They aren't, right?
Right.
So that's the gist of the whole.
But I think there was some discipline with that student, separate. I agree with you. I agree with you.
I'm not saying that the administration shouldn't necessarily take some precautionary measures if they know about a situation, but they have, we're talking about students, 1,426 of them. Superintendent is not responsible for their behavior when they're not on campus,
Agreed.
correct?
Agreed.
And our administration isn't responsible for their behavior off campus, correct?
No, I agree.
Okay.
What if they had murdered the student, though? Would you let them?
Well, you had said that charges were filed for the assault.
Right.
So the legal system had this situation under
Right.
hand, right?
Right.
So we really didn't have any reason to have any purview about what was going on at all.
Okay.
So then can I ask what the difference is? So we have been with Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall, what is the difference when we are accepting responsibility for students off campus?
I will.
This particular situation, the student was picked up by a parent. And
That's
so
the
the
difference.
parent
They've been
was,
released.
yeah. And so, and when there's a situation, and you can share your thoughts in this, when a student goes, leaves school and goes across the street, which is off campus, but never reports back to home, all right, and does something, what we typically will do is we will hold that student to the student code of conduct still.
Okay. Yeah, so you got a little more gray area there, right? The person is not with permission off campus.
Exactly.
You still got that in loco.
Locos
We're
parentis.
still responsible for them. No.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, in this situation,
So the law will protect the law and the locos parentos, correct?
Yep.
That's how we operate right there.
Oh, that makes sense. Mr. Lang, I didn't mean to be funny about that, but I just mean, I think that the school does have some, not in this situation. I think there are situations where if you know that a person is dangerous, even if it's off campus,
I don't
do
disagree
we want, if
with you.
there's
I'm
something
just-
that's discretionary, we may
I'm
want.
only speaking about the merits of this
Yeah,
situation.
yep, absolutely.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this wasn't student against student. This was student against relative, right?
Right. On campus, it was student against
Yes,
student.
but the
This, yeah,
prosecution and everything, that was with the student against relative
it was student and parent,
and parent against relative,
yeah.
not student and parent against student.
Nope.
So the two students that were graduating, there wasn't an issue. It was,
Once they got off
Once-
campus, it
right.
wasn't. Yep,
yep,
Yep.
okay,
yep.
thank you.
Yep. Okay. Next, this will sound like you guys stole all my thunder earlier with that discussion earlier on the agenda. But one of the things that I was also asked to investigate was whether Mr. Whelton had informed the district of, I want to be accurate, of the possibility of what was described to me as a state takeover, which is on November 20th. Mr. Hall talked about that. On November 20th, the district, through Mr. Whelton, received a letter from the Michigan Department of Education notifying you that you were going to be, the high school is going to be a CSI school district, or school building, correct? Yeah. And so I had to do some research on, not as deep as what you guys were getting into earlier, but CSI, TSI, state takeover, all that, right? You got all the way of state coming in and getting you a new superintendent and getting you your own board members and all that. That's what I would consider to be a state takeover. You've got CSI, which is what high school's gonna be going with now, and then so you're a partnership, right? But you don't, usually partnership, like, hey, you want to be my partner? Like, oh yeah, but here the state tells you you're going to be my partner, and Bridgeport nods their head and said, okay. And then TSI, which is, as I read it, and you guys were talking about it, and I'm happy to turn it over to you or Dr. Garcia or whoever's going to come in, but a lower level of oversight. Is that a fair way to put it? The TSI. And so in looking at that, one of the issues that I had, and this is where I got some help from Mr. Lang, because I was reaching out to people and it was over Christmas break, and I thought, well, you probably have an IT person that can help grab emails and things like that, but everybody's on break, and I really wanted to get this done for you guys before the end of the year. And so I talked to Mr. Whelton about it, and I asked him, I said, hey, there's an accusation that you did not inform the board about this possibility. And obviously, the letter that said you're gonna do this had just come out the day before you guys hired me to do the investigation. So obviously there wasn't much time for Mr. Whelton to talk to you all about the letter that he got. And I understand, I think actually the day that I was here for the investigation, I think Mr. Hall talked to you all about it at a board meeting perhaps. But what I want to do is look back in time and say, did you guys have any notice that this might be coming down the pike? And so what Mr. Whelton referred me to specifically, and he said that there may have been other times that during the school year that it had been addressed, but he didn't have access to his emails, but he was fairly confident that on January 31st of last year that he had sent a letter to I think it was weekly report, is that what? In his weekly report to the board, that he had informed you all of the TSI status, and then outlined this is what TSI status is, this is what, and I think you were saying, Ms. Morales, that right in that's probably where the September deadline came up and so on. So that the idea was, look, he didn't have a crystal ball and know prior to that November 2025 letter that he was going to get that letter, at least was my understanding. But we knew that we're on, probation. That's my word, not the real word. But we're on this lower level of oversight, and thus we've got to jump through these hoops, or the fear is that we're going to get on the greater oversight. So I did get that from Mr. Lang, and did see that went to all of the board. It was, in my mind, pretty extensive explanation of the process. Was a few pages long, talked about it, and although it didn't speak to your current situation, specifically the CSI, it made sense that it wouldn't. It would talk about TSI because that's what you were on during that year of 2025. So again, it's a communication issue, perhaps, if the board wanted more information or different information from Mr. Whelton. that may be an issue. I didn't see a violation of his contract, any violation of your policies, your procedures, anything of that nature with respect to that. And I think the quote was, actually was that this information was hidden and kept from the board. And I didn't find any support for that he had hidden and kept information from the board. It seemed that at least the information that he gave to you. And I haven't gone through, and his attorney was nice enough to tell me that, if there's anything, other findings that we're gonna make based upon a lack of emails, basically, from Mr. Whelton, then we need to have Mr. Whelton or someone have the opportunity to go through all the emails. For purposes of this finding, I don't find that's necessary. You guys, as I read it, were informed of what was going on in January of 2025, what needed to happen. You've asked questions now about what happened in September. I don't know, but you had the information, and frankly, I don't want to hold you guys responsible, but you could have asked those questions in September. Could have asked start of September and said, did we submit that? I don't want to get applauded. And I don't know if it was discussed at other times during the year. I did not ask Mr. Whelton to provide me with all of his communications to the board. He offered to do that if he could get access. But I didn't find any evidence that he had hidden and kept anything from the board, that he didn't keep the board informed with respect to the TSI-CSI issue. If there's something else that, again, at some point I'm trying to prove a negative, right? That he didn't give you this information. Well, if you have information that he had more information than what he gave you, that's something else. But a state takeover and hiding and keeping information from the board, I didn't find any evidence of that. You have any questions about that?
No, just that what I'm hearing is that communication goes both ways, always, right?
Well, so you guys haven't seen my report. I'm not going to hand it out tonight because I'm not an open meetings. Well, I guess I should be. I prosecuted Open Meetings Act case.
Yeah,
I'm not
you
here to give you
gave
advice
that-
on Open Meetings Act.
No, that's okay.
But
You did give that report
what I will tell
to
you
Amy,
is,
right?
pardon me?
You gave the report to Amy?
I did.
Okay, so as a president, she should have gave that report to all of us.
I'm going to leave that to you guys.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness,
Yeah.
I've worked for, companies before where I can't
presidents
give
do.
the
Yeah.
information to 7 board of directors. I need, you tell me who your spokesperson is, and that's who I deal with. And so, and I went, and I'm not proud of it, I went beyond that. Mr. Lang was asking me about different things and different dates and so on, and I don't want to overstep. I represent the whole board, but the board, you guys all learned this in MASB, right? You got your power right now, right? When you go home and call me on the phone and say, Alan, tell me about this, I'm not sure I'm going to do that, okay? Does that make sense?
No,
I just
got you,
can't.
honey.
But, yeah, so that's the short answer, and that's what happens in every district. So, don't get me wrong, it wasn't that, Ms. Morales said to me, Alan, I only want you to give me that report. I'm going to another district and doing hopefully a shorter and more private one of these tomorrow. But I gave that to the board president. And I think I said this, maybe I didn't say this to y'all, but I can't take questions from the audience. But some districts, I went to a district not long ago where the board president didn't give it to anybody. They told me to bring 7 copies when I came to present. I brought 7 copies tonight just in case you said that to me.
Well,
We went into closed session.
have
I
a
passed it out, and when it was all done, they brought a shredder into the room and they shredded it.
Is that the only way that you could hand that out, or do we actually vote on that in order for you
Can
to
you
hand
give
that out
us
in
the
public?
Do it however,
Okay. So we don't have to be in closed session for you to share that. We could vote on you sharing that.
100%.
Okay.
100%. And I'm not
could
your
take a
school
vote,
attorney. They can give you the pros and the cons. Mr. Delaporte can give, I think he probably wants you to get it. But they can give you the pros
But are
and cons in
names
that.
going to be on that where it would be confidential? Is that the
I took there's nothing that would refer to any students, any identifying information. The only name that's in here that I didn't mention tonight is your coach. I didn't mention, you probably all can figure out who that is. But I didn't mention that person's name. That person's name is mentioned in here. But with respect to the parents that I talked about, I used fake initials and
The other complainant.
because some boards do vote some boards move to put it out in the public. Look, we paid this money, we paid for this investigation, let's let the people know what's going on here. And a lot don't. So that's all up to you. But
But a board vote would be able to take care of that.
yep. Well, beyond that, I mean, you can, if they vote, you can make copies of it, but I got copies here if no one snuck into my backpack. And I got my eye on these people right there, but no. But what I was gonna say about the report, I just wanna, because we're having so much fun and I know nobody wants to go home. I just wanna, so Mr. Lang, I know, is a brass tacks guy. So bottom line is, with all these complaints, I found no wrongdoing on Mr. Whelton's part.
So,
But-
Mr. Talgenhoff,
Ann, my wife was working with me to not say but anymore. And it's obvious that there are just, as an outsider, right? And so part of it, I come in and do these investigations. I'm probably not as good as Mr. Delaporte. I heard he was the man for many years. But one thing that I want to do is try to help the district moving forward, right? And so one of the things, if you all get this report that I talked about in here, is the communication. That if you look at a lot of these issues that we're talking about here tonight, it really comes down to, on some level or another, communication. And I can just, I'm not making it about me, but since you're paying me to be here, I just want to tell you, when I was the board president, people booed, I think. People booed. I have to get paid. I got family to feed. I can just tell you, when I was board president for 6 years, I went to lunch with my superintendent every Monday. We went to lunch every single Monday. And I'll tell you, I had a bowl of chili and he had a bowl of chicken noodle soup every single Monday. He never paid for me. I never paid for him. Because he would tell me things that were going on with the district. And he would tell me, maybe, if we got a complaint that was filed against us with the state of Michigan. And there was never a time when I got caught that, oh geez, something happened and he didn't let me know that it was happening. I had a good relationship with the rest of my board, right? Because if you have that kind of relationship with your superintendent, you can have other board members that say, well, wait a minute, how come you're so powerful? You're more powerful than me. I wasn't. But we can't go. You had a lot of people talk about Open Meetings Act, and I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what the Open Meetings Act is or isn't. But anyway, one thing that can at least raise eyebrows is if all 7 board members go to lunch every week with the superintendent, okay? And so as a practical matter, I met with that guy, and he's one of my best friends for the rest of my life, right? And I held him accountable, and we got red-faced and argued and so on. But I'm not saying that works for everybody. But some of the stuff that I think you have going on here is just because there's a dysfunctional communication going on. And I don't blame you for that, Ms. Morales, and I don't blame, oh my gosh, Mr. Whelton. A long night. I don't blame him for that. It's like somebody said about the district, if something goes wrong, everybody's got their little piece of it. But something's got to fix it. And they can recall you and put a new, okay, the next person's got to have a good communication system. And I just feel like what you guys have relied on, this is in my report, because I'm trying to help. I'm just honest to God, I'm just trying to help you here. That's all. If you take all this money from you, at least I can do is try to help you a little bit. You have put formal communication way, way above informal communication. And I think that's good at times, and at times it's not good. And there's a time for formal, and there's a time for informal. And so even you're gonna get really mad at me, Ms. Morales, but I'm sorry. But I'm gonna use an example tonight. Even these questions with Mr. Hall that you guys were going back and forth with, when I was running for school board, I sat out in the audience, right? Did you guys, when you were running, sit out in the audience and watch, oh, this is what it's like. And we had one school board member that was always asking questions at the meetings. And I thought, oh my God, that board member is the greatest board member of all time. How come everyone else is so quiet? That person's asking the questions. And then once I became a board member, I said, oh, wait, the other 6 board members were asking that question before the meeting. Right? That's the time when you can really get an answer from someone. When you ask Mr. Hall in his office and say, hey, Mr. Hall, what's going on here? He can shoot you straight and tell you, hey, this is what's going on. He can pull up on his computer and show you stuff. And if the only time that you folks are communicating is at these board meetings, I just feel like you're setting yourself up for trouble. And that's beyond my investigation. But I just see that with so many of these examples that we have here, right? You know, if when you're at lunch with Mr. Whelton, he tells you about the situation with the varsity football coach and says, we got this issue going on, you know it, right? And so if a letter comes in or, you know, you're like, oh, I already know all about that. You're not gonna hire a lawyer to come in and investigate that as a complaint. This TSI, CSI, if you're going to lunch with, and it doesn't have to be lunch, but that's what we did. That's what worked for us. Everybody's got to have this style, but somebody's got to communicate outside. And I know Mr. Whelton, maybe one of the fears is Mr. Whelton talks a lot. I've heard that from people in the audience, and I picked up on that one when I went to interview him. But just the communication has just got to get better. I feel like you guys are just going to be in the same position again, and I don't want that for you. One thing that really comes through is I listen to the people in your audience, and you got people that are passionate about Bridgeport schools, and I talk to every one of you folks, and it breaks my heart, honestly, when I hear, I'm gonna get emotional. When I hear people talk about you 3 ladies as monkeys in a circus, that infuriates me. That infuriates me. That's so disrespectful. And I met the 3 of you for an hour, and you care just as much about this district as the people out here. It's just a different way. And I just wish that you guys could talk to each other. I just wish that you could get this fixed. I said you need a mediator. I'm not your guy, but you need somebody to come in here and fix this, because you got so much good going on here, and you got so much community support if you get this back on the right track. So, you have any questions for me? I'll get off my soapbox now.
So hold on. So overall, though, we have avoided, or at least we've avoided any risk to the district. Okay. All right.
I don't find anything in the stuff that I investigated. Absolutely no risk to the district.
Do you feel this was necessary?
Pardon me?
Do you feel this was necessary?
No.
I don't know how to answer that question.
Had we?
Right, yeah, because you're the
No, I honestly don't. I don't know. I don't mean to be funny. I mean, any district. Put it this way. I'm going to a district tomorrow where somebody's in trouble. There's some findings that not going to go good for somebody, right? I don't know that you know until you get there. I mean, if you want to know.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying we
Yeah.
handled the situation properly with multiple complaints that we weren't even aware of.
But do you really want me to, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
If you really want to know? Did you guys all know what the complaints were?
No.
See, to me, that's where the problem was. When I watched the meeting when you guys hired me, right? Because I'm like, oh man, what am I getting myself into? And but Tammy said nice things about me, so I appreciated that. But
You're welcome.
but
So back to your communication, I think is what you're trying to get. You're saying if we would
as a board member,
discuss that amongst ourselves.
to be honest, in this, I hate saying this in front of 150 of my closest friends, but I'll pick on Mr. Sawatsky. I don't know how he knows whether he should be spending district money on hiring an investigator or not if he doesn't know what we're investigating, and he doesn't know, and he didn't know. I always know I'm in trouble when people clap. I don't want anybody to clap. And then he doesn't know, I mean, honestly, and I thought your attorney explained a little bit about who I am and what I do, but you didn't know who you were hiring. And so you don't know what you're investigating, you don't know what you're hiring, you don't know what's gonna cost you. I think that's tough. And I think, and in fairness to you, Amy, and people don't want me to be fair to you in this crowd, but I think you're going by what you thought you were supposed to do and keep things close to the vest and so on. And I think there's a lot to be said for that you can't let accusations get out into the public, right? I mean, you don't want that. I don't want people saying things about Mr. Hall like they said tonight. I don't want that. But for these 7 people, they gotta know. That's what I feel like, and that it probably, I don't know, there's no rule on it, and MASB, I don't know what their rules are. I just know I was a board president for a long time, and my relationship with my 6 board members and my superintendent were just huge to me, and that's why he wanted to go to lunch with me, because you know what? I knew if you're gonna bring this up, I can tell you, Tammy's gonna vote no, Lucy's gonna vote yes, Carmen's gonna vote yes. I knew where the board was going to stand on these things. So the superintendent wanted to meet with me because, man, I got all the goods. I got all the goods on these people because they're in my ear and he's in my ear. And here, I think that's it. So I think you balance, like you got these complaints. You don't want the complaints in the community, but how can Carmen vote fairly on, do we really need to investigate these or don't we? Know what I mean? So
The
And I
board
just-
needs to work
I
on
j-
trust.
Well, I just felt as though our lawyer
With
who
each other.
represents us
Right.
Yeah.
came in
I'm
and
sorry.
I said, our lawyer was directing my other board members. I would like not to be at risk of anything.
right.
So we gotta,
Well, and I saw the meeting and
Daughter and-
you know, lawyers can scare people. I shouldn't say this because I am one. I've been one for a long time with like, oh, liability. You got these complaints, but you just bury your head in the sand. What's the liability, right? I mean, I get that. But then if you knew that like one of these was about a coach that got fired and is mad that he didn't get another year, probably wouldn't pay me to investigate that, right? I mean, maybe you would. I mean, districts pay for different things, but that's what makes it hard for me to answer that. But I think honestly, you got this much issue, people in the community want to know what's going on. Maybe it is best. If this is, if these are the complaints against Mr. Whelton, then you better have somebody investigate them all and see what's to it. But if you're gonna not have them be here next year or whatever, I don't know. Anyway, I hope it was helpful. I guess that's the best way I can say it. I hope it was helpful.
It was. So now that we have the findings from Mr. Chalkenhoff, thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. Just a reminder that, so we do have to have follow-up outcome letters to the complainant. So there's no additional steps.
And to Mr. Whelton.
And Mr. Whelton, there's no additional steps that the board has. Wait a minute. So we do have to finalize still. We have to
what, I'm sorry?
finalize this process with and when do you send those outcome, or does our
I
district,
usually don't, but
so our district
usually
attorney
it's
does?
through the superintendent, and I'm not usually dealing with an interim and all that,
Right,
so.
right.
But
Our district legal counsel will send the
yeah, I think that's
outcome
who I would
letters.
have do it, is either you could do it internally with the help of your counsel, or counsel can do
Okay,
it.
so once the outcome letters come out, it's finalized. We're good. Nothing else we have to do, no other process we have to do. So, okay.
Trying to think, I think you're, yeah, none of the complainants were staff. I was gonna say staff would have rights if there was a complaint and you made no finding, but you don't have that. None of these were staff members. The coach is not considered a staff member, I don't think, under that policy, so that should finalize it with respect to what you asked me to do.
So, yep, thank you, we appreciate that.
All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you all.
Yes. section, or item number
I'm sorry,
8.
excuse me, Amy.
Yeah.
If I may, I want to put a motion in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, yes, so,
I just wanted to catch
sorry,
it before
yeah.
you finish.
Go right ahead.
Okay, I want to put a motion in to reinstate Mark tonight.
Support.
Tammy put the motion in, and Aaron supported that, second that. So if we can have board discussion on motion made at this time. So now that we do have findings from Talgenhoff, again, I'm just going to say that there's a reminder that we are not complete because this additional steps for the board members, keep in mind that this isn't finalized. So the good news is the fact that liability was taken off. Therefore, I don't see any action to be made until we're actually finalized. The outcome letters, even from Mr.
We had the
given
investigation.
to him, has to be given to Mr. Whelton as well.
Correct, but we already have the report. He already told us there was no violations in the community, our kids, our teachers, us. We are in no danger. There was no violations.
Yes, no technical violation. We are not
No
liable for any.
violations.
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
So there's no reason to vote and to reinstate him.
Yeah,
If we reinstate him right now and these parents don't know and they feel that they need it to be heard, don't you think we have to take that into account?
What parents? I mean, who? People are going to be watching. And so far, from what I've heard from a lot of parents and even on your recalls,
I'm talking about the ones that inserted the allegations to be.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm sorry. Can you say that again? You're talking about which? Carmen, I was asking you. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
couldn't hear you. You're facing that
We
way.
haven't notified any of the people who submitted the
The complainant.
yes.
The
we can
complainant.
you can still do that and reinstate Mark tonight.
And you don't think that would be a slap in the face to act before we even?
No, it's not a slap in the face because the investigation was completed. There was
ladies
no
and gentlemen,
violation.
can I ask you a question?
We would not be breaking any policies or laws.
Ladies and gentlemen, effectively, this has been a not guilty verdict. They do not put people back in jail once they've been deemed not guilty.
Yeah.
Correct.
So rather than continue to stall, can we just get on with it, please?
Can't hear.
I think the letters are just a formality that are gonna get sent out, and it's just a not guilty verdict, so I think we're okay to reinstate him.
The situation has been prolonged long enough.
Yes. Stop stalling.
So, not comfortable till it's finalized, board members. So just some board members are just gonna bring that up for you. Everyone has their own opinion, each board member, and we're gonna respect each of our opinions. Any other discussion?
No, they're going to do what Amy wants.
So no other discussion from a board member? Hearing none from the board members? Correct? Okay, so the motion on the table is to reinstate, you have a timeline? Immediately? Tonight, first thing tomorrow? What, you didn't? Just
Immediately
need clarity.
was the
From the board,
motion.
from the person making the motion.
That's what she said.
Wanted him reinstated tonight. I
Okay.
did say
So the motion on the table is for reinstatement effective immediately tonight. Yep, go ahead.
Ms. Morales,
No.
Mrs. Breemsey,
Yes.
Ms. Castillo,
No.
Ms. Irby,
No.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Ms. Bieshki,
Yes.
Mr. Sawatsky.
Yes.
Robin? Robin?
We have four votes yes, 3 votes opposed.
So motion has passed by the board to reinstate Mr. Whelton, Superintendent Whelton, effective tonight. So item number 8, alleged board policy violations. Ms. Bremsey, I'll let you go first.
Well, I passed out the legal opinion from Attorney Dan Martin from Truon. There were 2 opinions, but both regarding the same matter. And
Brentoya, I'm sorry. I have 2 here. One's thicker than the other, so I'm not sure.
yes, there was one sent.
Okay.
There was a follow-up email that we all got. and
Okay,
he
gotcha.
Also,
So you gave us copy of both of them?
Yes.
Okay. Great, thank you.
and so if you all would just look over this, and we can decide if we're going to have him do the investigation. He did send other names, but he has no ties with anyone. So
I'm sorry, what was his name?
Attorney Dan Martin.
Okay.
So yes, at the end of this, we'll decide, I'll make the motion for a vote, and then we can decide yes, yay or nay, if we're going to have him as, well, to be the lead investigator.
Okay.
Well, so, okay, go ahead and make your motion.
What'd you say, Bob?
Are you saying that you want to appoint Daniel Martin as the investigator?
That's what my motion would be for.
Okay. We have an attorney that has worked with us on previous HR-related stuff. His name is Joseph Urban. I would think it would be to our benefit, since he is knowledgeable about both our policy and our procedures from a personnel standpoint, that he would be a better selection.
Bob, I'm sorry, what was Joseph's last name?
Urban,
Irvin?
yes.
And who came up with this attorney, Dan Martin, to investigate? Who gave us his name?
He's from Truon Law.
From term, okay.
Does a motion need to be made first to start an investigation?
Okay, well, I don't think it should be an attorney that is right with Attorney Thorne's law firm, because that would still be a conflict of interest.
That's what I
It
believe
would have
too.
to be an attorney that has no involvement even with our attorney's office. So,
I do have some names that were
Okay.
given, some third parties. Just trying to find that.
and this Joseph but
Urban,
he said he's done work for us in the past.
yes, and he's also on our approved list of attorneys.
He's what?
One of our approved attorneys.
Can I give the 3? Well, let me find it.
And who's the other attorneys that you have, Brentoya? And who were they recommended from?
They're recommended from Dan.
Okay,
From whom?
attorneys.
From the stand, Mark.
Okay.
Sounds like he gave her 3 names. Mhm.
No, I should have took a screenshot.
So while you look for the list of third-party attorneys who have no contact, I'm assuming, with or have never had anything to do with the school district
Or our attorney.
or our
Yeah,
attorneys,
can
correct?
have no conflict of interest.
No conflict of interest, no one who's been past or present. You first want to make your motion to see if this is even moving forward.
With what, the,
In general, if the board is going to vote to move forward after they're done reading, after everyone is done reading.
for a vote to, yes, secure legal counsel to do the investigation. Mr. Martin.
No, 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 no,
One of the 3.
no. First, you have to make the motion if you're moving forward with an investigation. Then the second motion is who, just like what we did before.
Okay, let's do that. I'd like to make a motion to move forward with the investigation once everyone has the chance to review.
Okay, and the investigation is against who's being investigated?
So you have the paperwork. Yeah.
Okay.
Brentoya has made a motion on the table with the paperwork everyone has read.
So move.
Support.
So to move forward on, in hiring an investigator for the alleged complaint you have in front of you. Roll call to move forward on this.
Ms. Morales?
Yes.
Mrs. Breemsy?
Yes.
Ms. Castillo?
Yes.
Ms. Irby?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Ms. Bieshki?
Yes.
Mr. Sawatsky?
Yes.
We have 7 votes yes, 0 opposed.
Now your motion.
Has everyone reviewed everything? The paperwork?
Yes.
Have, put in a motion to have Mr. Martin, Attorney Martin, lead the investigation.
But he's a conflict of interest. He's with our attorney's office. We have to have somebody that's not, that would not be a
So
conflict.
that's her motion. Her motion is to have I'm sorry, what was his last name? Martin, as the investigator attorney.
Correct, but he
Is
cannot
there,
be.
is there a second to Brentoya's motion?
Support.
Hearing no. Carmen, you second, you support? You support it, okay. So Brentoya's motion is to hire Attorney Dan Martin to head the investigation, and Carmen supported it. Any discussion?
I'd rather see a third party
It's a conflict of
Attorney, take
interest.
care of this.
Agreed.
Agreed that it would be a third party that had nothing to do with the
Yeah, it
district,
has-
past or present.
Correct.
I mean, I don't know, you said he's with Truan's, so,
Our attorney's office, so that is a conflict. We don't want to have any conflict. See, we want to avoid that. That's why it's best to have somebody that,
and you knew, like Telgenhoff, you knew he had nothing to do with us, past or present.
correct.
Where is this?
There
Mr.
has to be
Dan Martin?
somebody on that list that,
But is he? He's not one of our actual lawyers.
No.
What did you ask, Carmen? I'm sorry.
Where is he from? Is he one of our actual lawyers?
It's from Truan Law.
is from Truman Law, which is our attorney's office.
So why do you feel that makes him?
Because it would be a conflict. He's in the attorney's office, so that means they're all, so, I mean, even say if Thornton couldn't make it, he could actually get that attorney to come and talk on his behalf.
Let me suggest something here. I would suggest at this point in time, we defer this to our reinstated superintendent, and he can return to the board with a recommendation.
So it's the board's vote, though, and the motion is on the table.
I understand that. I am offering an alternative. We've all voted that there needs to be an investigation. We've now reinstated our superintendent.
Well, I cannot, I have the names. If we don't
Tammy wants them.
him, I'm trying to find them. I don't even know what that email is.
Just take your time. Don't feel rushed or nervous. Just take your time. I mean, if you have them in there. I mean, if not, yeah, we could wait until our next meeting. And then maybe you can even run them through with Mark.
Novel idea.
Then you'll have
You want to
time.
make that motion, Tammy?
Huh?
You have a motion
You
on
want to
Yeah,
make
I
that
can
motion to
Put in
table
the
this
motion
until?
We still have
to wait until our next.
Yeah, that's true. So,
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, Carmen, go right ahead. What did you say?
We still have to vote on this motion that's currently on the table.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So let's do roll call then. No more discussion in regards to the motion on the table is to have,
Dan Martin. Right?
Yep.
Yes.
is to have Dan Martin head the investigation. For alleged policy violation. Whenever you're ready for roll call.
Ms. Morales?
No.
Mrs. Breemsey?
No.
Ms. Castillo?
Yes.
Ms. Irby?
No.
Mr. Lang?
No.
Ms. Bieshki?
No.
Mr. Sawatsky?
No.
We have 1 vote yes and 6 votes opposed.
Recommended action for Dan Martin to head an investigation failed. Is there any other motion on the table?
Yes, I would like to put a motion in that we come back on this,
Table it to the next meeting.
on 8 for our next meeting. And then that way, that will give Brentoya some time to go through and write them down, and she will even have time to go through them with Mark so they can make a good choice to bring to us.
Motion on the table to table this recommended action in choosing an actual third-party investigator for alleged violations. So the motion on the table is to not choose anyone particular, to table this until next meeting, which would be February 9th.
Support.
Any discussion on that? Hearing no discussion. Roll call, Robin.
Ms. Morales,
Yes.
Mrs. Breemsey,
Yes.
Mrs. Castillo,
Yes.
Miss Irby,
No.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Miss Bieshki,
Yes.
Mr. Sawatsky.
Yes.
We have 6 votes for yes and 1 vote opposed.
Motion to table item number 8 to choose a third-party investigator has passed. That has now been tabled to February 9th.
Can I get those papers back?
Yeah, you sure can.
To pass down the legal opinion to,
Oh, she wants, has her to shred, okay.
Make sure I got them both.
Mr. Hall, do you have any type of update or any comment at this time?
I do. Let me preference my comments by kind of jokingly saying to my peers, teachers, that when we were out on restroom break, that was trying to convince me how cold it is before I can make a call. That's on somebody else. All right, so let me preference with that first. Secondly, I want to talk about, and as I was sharing with a couple of the educators out there, and some of you may have taken offense with the position that I took when I was intentionally being insulted. As educators, we teach our young people that if someone comes into your face and they intentionally insult you, that you should walk away. I was not going to get up out of my seat and leave the meeting. However, none of us have to ever take someone intentionally disrespecting us and insulting us. None of us. And I won't change my position on that because I am an educator for life. And we have to live by example. Secondly, I want to talk about what some may have thought was to be the elephant in the room, and I respect the individual for coming and sharing what they found and what anyone can find on an easy Google search in regards to my experience at past district. And I emphasize an easy Google search. So a couple of things that was brought out in that information was we were at a board meeting. We were at a special board meeting, and it was a closed board meeting, and so media was not there. We were at a special meeting, a special closed board meeting, and as it was stated, to deal with a assistant basketball coach. The reason for the special meeting, because that individual had an inappropriate relationship with a student athlete. The term pattern was used when being expressed. I never used that verbiage. Even if I had have used that verbiage, I've said in enough IEP meetings to understand in order to have a pattern, it must be more than twice. So there is no pattern near in that regards. But the pattern that was there and still remains there today is Flenoya Hall III protecting his children. That's the pattern that remains there today. And so if anybody that's an adult want to have an inappropriate relationship with a child, I will show that pattern, not of any type of abusive language, but to move for termination. I want to be clear on that. Secondly, if that presentation was meant to support Mr. Mark Whelton, that was not a good presentation meant to support him, seeing that he is the one that when he hired me in 2022 was clearly aware of that act in 2020. I will let my data of 26 years of education and 5 earned degrees support me not trying to be anyone but me. 26 years in education, 5 earned degrees, okay? I'm not trying to be nobody. And if anyone understands how tough it is to sit in an acting or an interim role, which many probably don't because you've never had to do it, it's a sacrifice. And I sat in this seat because all of us know the dysfunction of this district. And if there was an outsider to come and sit in this seat with the dysfunction, many changes would have already been made. Some of you all that are upon the sound of my voice that are working here may not still be employed up under other acting leadership. So for those of you that appreciate me for stepping in this seat, I appreciate you. For those of you that shouted out that you love me, I love you. For those of you that did the otherwise, I pray for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Thank you.
And one other piece. The only thing you're going to get is the Google piece, because if you try to FOIA Romulus Community Schools in regards to that incident, please let me know if they give something to you, because part of their settlement agreement, and which is why I can talk the way that I talk and walk the way that I walk, is because with their assistance, I was able to do some investing and put me and my family in a secure place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Thank you. Perfect. Mr. Lane?
It's late. And I appreciate everybody's patience. My hope is that we can move towards a path of healing, but that's going to take some real work at this table. And I will leave it at that.
Okay. Mr. Sawatsky?
Thank you, Mr. Hall, for clarifying that for everybody.
Check the record. Anybody check the record?
I would like to extend an invitation to Mr. Whelton's council, if he so chooses, to address the audience after the meeting's adjournment
Here in this room.
here in this room.
That it?
That's all I have.
Okay, Tammy?
Yeah, I just want to say, Mr. Hall, I was there when Mark hired you. He brought you in and he talked very highly. I remember that. And he never brought up about your past because truly, I'm not saying I don't care about you, but people make mistakes in life. But the right thing to do is correct a mistake, go on and move forward. So if Mark didn't bring up your past to us, well, there was a reason why he didn't. And then you came, you were great. I mean, you and Mark worked together. I thought great. You two have great communication, and that's what we need. So I hope you will stay here and work with Mark.
Lucy? Any comment?
Not at this time.
Okay. Carmen?
No.
No. Thank you, Mr. Hall. I agree. And there was no mistake, but obviously we appreciate you stepping in. There was nothing, I don't think the board, I mean, you didn't hear anything like that from the board. The board may not trust each other and the board may not agree with each other's opinions, but no one here on the board has ever, to my knowledge, shared anything in regards to any negativity on your end. So if someone wants to, that's their own opinion. Everybody has the right to their opinion, obviously, but we're going to respect that.
Thank you.
Yeah, obviously. Like Taugenhoff said, this could have been avoided sometimes with communication. So no double standards, no anything when it comes down to there has to be respect. No more name calling, no more, I mean, we'll see, it's not just on 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people. It is on 7 board members that need to figure out to work together for the better of the district of our children overall. We're all voted to be here. We have constituents in the community, the people that voted for us to answer to. So we want, obviously, to move ahead. We don't want to be complacent with anything. We want to keep going forward. I would hope that that's what the plan is. But everyone's entitled to their own. So this meeting is now adjourned.